Thank you for inviting me here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Stewart. Ruth, may we go to you? And hear about your most important issue, goal, question, or concern. Are you ready?
I sure am.
You have it.
Thanks. Good evening, and thank you for inviting me to your charming community here in Foulkeways. I'm delighted to see so many people actively interested in the political process. Like many of you, I am frustrated about what's going on in Harrisburg. Special interests have just about captured the legislative process. Just last week, the Judiciary Committee, which is chaired by my opponent, expedited legislation to expand the rights of gun owners. Within a week of receiving the bill, it had a hearing and was out of committee. On the other hand, the proposed False Claims Act has languished in the Judiciary Committee. This act, if ever passed, would allow the Senate to recover tens of millions of dollars in penalty money from corporations that have committed fraud. Pennsylvania is the only large state in the United States that does not have such legislation. At this time, it is unacceptable for revenue-generating legislation like this to sit in committee. As the chairman of that committee, my opponent has failed to move this legislation so that hard-working Pennsylvanians are further burdened. As your state senator, I will fight to limit special interest influences. I will introduce legislation that addresses campaign finance reform, term limits, and transparency in government. We can create jobs, grow small businesses, and fund quality education by finding creative ways of generating revenue, and that do not involve raising taxes on seniors and property owners. I am for closing tax loopholes and making the natural gas drilling companies pay their fair share. We pay our taxes, why shouldn't they? The state Senate promised to solve the Marcellus Shale issue by October 1st. Last week, they declared a recess. Instead, will not come back until next year. While the state Senate takes a 2.5-month vacation, these drilling companies get a free ride and our Pennsylvania deficit grows daily.
Please hold to the time, Ruth, would you please?
Yes, I would. Just have one, yeah, okay.
You're way over.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Thank you.
Come back later.
Thanks. Oh, you had.
I know that some of the things that we're going to hear will tempt you to want to rebut, but we're not going to do that. Save it, and you'll have another turn later. Maybe you can work in your own idea then. Next, let's take the same question to Kate Harper. Would you, Kate?
Thank you very much. I am also happy to be here. I think government of the people, by the people, and for the people just works better when the people are involved and active. And so it's really great to see this room, much bigger than the last time I was here, almost full. But like church, there are empty seats right in the front. So if anybody needs seats, that's where they are. I think the big issue this year is the economy. With the economy still quivering like jello, people are worried about the money that they're using to live on, their 401ks, their IRAs, and if they're still working, their salaries. So I think Pennsylvania has to be focused on dealing with the effects of the economy. We have a balanced budget requirement in Pennsylvania. I think it's good discipline, and I believe in it. I voted no on the last two budgets because they weren't balanced correctly, and they weren't balanced with the revenues that we have. In a down economy, the state also loses revenues. People don't earn as much, they don't pay as much income tax. Corporations don't make profits, they don't pay as much tax. People don't spend. I'm all in favor of saving, believe me. But if you don't go to the mall, we don't collect as much sales taxes. Not that I'm telling you to go. What we have to do instead is deal with the reality of that. If the revenues are down, the spending must be controlled. We just haven't done that in Pennsylvania, and we need to. About 40% of our budget goes to K through 12 education. Another 40% goes to people in need, welfare, Medicaid, and other programs like that. That's 80% of our budget that's rising every year. And these are tough times. So to avoid raising taxes and to still get a balanced budget, we're gonna have to watch our pennies, your pennies, and be very careful about it. I think that's the issue this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Mary Lou, would you take the same question, please?
Thank you, David. And Kate, it's nice to be with you again. We were together this morning for a radio debate, so we're getting to be good friends. I am Mary Lou Redinger, and I'm running for state representative in the 61st District because I feel that we need real change. If you would just ask yourself, are you happy with what's going on now more than 2 years ago? And I think you would say no, or even 10 years ago. I am not the typical politician. I'm actually a nurse. I've been a nurse over 25 years, and I've had the privilege to not just knock on the doors like a typical politician, but actually get behind those doors and sit with my patients, 6 to 7 patients a day, and actually hear their concerns and their problems and see the tears in their eyes and touch them. So, you know, I'm a person that is for the people. And I feel that we need, of course, to create jobs. Hey, listen, I'm talking to the greatest generation right now, just like the book said. You guys are the greatest generation, and we're gonna get through this. But we need to create jobs, and I know you're on board with that. We also need to do more for the environment and also affordable health care, and I know health care. So I want to thank you all for being here, and thanks for listening to us tonight.
Thank you all. With that general opening, we're going to proceed now to some prepared questions which have been put together by the Current Issues Committee. I'm going to read the questions and we'll follow the same procedure. Each respondent, each candidate will have an opportunity for 2 minutes response. And Ruth, I'm going to send you the first question. It is this, about the legislature's size and cost. On a per capita basis, Pennsylvania has one of the largest and most costly state legislatures in America. Given the dire budget constraints Pennsylvania faces in this long recession, would you support an effort to redistrict Pennsylvania and thereby reduce the number of House and Senate seats? Could such a move both save money and increase the efficiency of our legislative process? And what political process do you think would be required to downsize our legislature? That's a lot.
It sure is. Thanks. Yes, it is. But it would save a great deal of money. Truthfully, we have one of the most bloated legislatures in the entire country that costs millions of dollars, and when we have a budget and a problematic budget, we desperately need to make serious changes. And I agree with everything actually that's on here. I think we need to downsize the size of our legislature. And this can happen, but we need to have a constitutional convention to be able to have real change here in Pennsylvania. That as it states right here, it says that there is there's dire budget constraints here in Pennsylvania. New York State has 1,000 less staffers than we do in Pennsylvania, and they have a larger population. There is lots of things that needs to be addressed, and they need to be addressed now, particularly in economic downturn. I think that we have to lead. The legislature has to lead. We have to clean up our own house before we ask everyone else to accept cuts on children's services, on education, on senior services, that we've got to clean up our own house first. I think what we can do is that it's important for us to eliminate the taxpayer-funded political caucuses need to be eliminated. We don't even know how much money is there. They used to call them WAMs. Now they're not called walking around money, they call it something else, but there's no audit, there's no transparency, and it's millions of dollars. We need to get rid of and eliminate the special leadership accounts. That's just a few of the things that need to be done and should be done. Thank you.
Stewart, it's your turn. It's your turn to talk, but and please try to stay on the question of the legislature's size and cost as much as possible.
I will, but I think that I should address some of the issues that have been raised by Ruth. I think that would be a fair thing for me to do, and then I'll address the constitutional issue. Ruth has indicated that I didn't let a bill out, that I led the bill out. Actually, that bill never came out of my committee. That the statistics will show that. You just check the record that that gun issue, control issue, never came out of my Senate Judiciary Committee. So she's mistaken in that regard. In regard to the legislation as it was passed, I voted for closing the loophole, the Florida loophole in gun control issues, so that people could go down to Florida now and they can obtain a license to carry a concealed deadly weapon, even though they're turned down in Pennsylvania, and then come back with that license. I voted for that bill, and it had 22 votes. We were a few votes short, but I did vote for that. In regard to the false claims legislation, I did report it out of committee several times, and we didn't have the votes for it. So I guess that's the issue on that issue. On raising taxes on seniors, Ruth has voted twice to raise property taxes while she was the county commissioner. And
Stewart, I hate to interrupt, but we really want to stay with the question here. I understand your desire to rebut, but we are not doing rebuttals.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, wait maybe till your last closing statement if you have anything to clean up, but please address the legislative size and cost.
I will. Thank you. I would support the downsizing of the legislature. I think it's important for us to have an efficient legislature, and that would be a procedure in which we have a constitutional amendment. How you do that is you pass legislation. It has to pass 2 successive legislative sessions and then go on the ballot, and that's the way of doing it. So I think that's a good step. There are 50 state senators. There are 203 House members, and we could pare it down. No question about that. I think that would be a good effort. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we'll go